Good evening. Thank you for joining us to learn more about our ongoing beach feasibility assessment. If you are joining us in person, thank you for taking the time out of your evening. If you are watching this online, we appreciate you tracking the study and tuning in to learn more. In this short presentation, we will go over introductions and the purpose of this beach feasibility assessment as a part of adopting a long-term beach management plan. We will then discuss background information on the importance of beach monitoring and the history of beach monitoring in Volusia County, as well as provide results of a data analysis on the health and state of our beaches. Finally, we'll present preliminary beach user survey data on the over 12,000 respondents that we had to our beach user survey. In closure, we will talk about the next steps of the assessment, and after the conclusion of this presentation, we encourage everyone to walk around to the breakout stations and learn more and ask questions. I'm Jessica Fentress, the Coastal Director for Volusia County. I've been with Volusia County for over 9 years and am extremely passionate about having a resilient shoreline for generations to come. Speaking with me today will be Dr. Christopher Bender. Dr. Bender directs the Coastal Engineering Group at Taylor Engineering. Over his 22-year career, he has taken a leading role in the simulation and evaluation of hurricane surge, wave mechanics and loading, littoral processes, shoreline protection, and sediment transport. Dr. Bender serves on the American Society of Civil Engineers Coastal Engineering Research Council and has taught coastal engineering courses at the University of North Florida as a part-time faculty member. The purpose of this outreach meeting is to discuss the county's feasibility study on coastal management. This initiative, funded by the Florida Department of Environmental Protection, aims to assess current conditions and explore effective strategies for preserving and protecting our coastline. During this presentation, we will examine historic shoreline trends to understand long-term changes, share insights from our first coastal user survey to reflect community priorities, explore potential long-term solutions for coastal management and resilience, and discuss next steps and how we can move forward together. Your voice is a crucial part of this process. We encourage you to join one of our breakout stations after this presentation to provide feedback. This is more than just a study. It's about shaping the future of Volusia County's beaches and ensuring they remain a vibrant and valued resource for generations to come. The beach environment is a dynamic environment with small changes occurring every tide cycle. When reviewing how a beach adapts over the years or recovers after storm events, it is industry practice to look at beach changes over time in order to recommend resilient solutions that will withstand not only seasonal changes, but the long-term impacts of erosion and accretion. Before we dive into the results of an analysis of our beach condition, it is important to first understand how the data is collected and what benchmarks are reviewed to determine beach trends. Professional surveyors collect contour and bathymetry data at monuments set by the state of Florida approximately every 1,000 feet along our coastline, very similar to how mile markers can be found on highways. This survey data is then analyzed by coastal scientists and engineers to document the beach's conditions. These beach surveys provide insight on many things, including the current conditions of the beach, how it responds to coastal improvements, how the beach reacts and recovers from significant storm events, and which areas of our coastline are in critical need. The first beach survey for the county occurred in 1972. And since then, there have been 31 beach surveys collected. These surveys have varied spatial extents and coverage across the county. In recent years, the county has prioritized the collection of annual and post-event beach surveys to better document the beach and understand how its conditions are changing. These surveys and their corresponding reports are indicated by X's and a report icon on the timeline. While this individual survey and report represents a snapshot in time, analyzing the data from various surveys cumulatively provides the insight needed to make long-term beach management decisions.
Understand how a beach is performing and how the coastal area may be changing over time. Our team of coastal scientists and engineers analyze multiple parameters. To study dune changes, we analyze the approximate dune toe position and the maximum dune elevation. This allows us to understand how the dune may be growing or if it is eroding away. Next, we look at the shoreline position which we define using the mean high water elevation. This tracks the beach's seaward limit. To understand the available space to recreate and the amount of protective buffer, we look at the beach width and average berm elevation across the profile. These are bounded by the dune toe position and the shoreline position. The last major parameter we analyze is volume of sand. We analyze this across multiple delineators, such as above mean high water, which quantifies the subaerial or dry beach changes, and from mean high water to minus 15 feet NAVD88 contour to describe the subaqueous or nearshore changes. After these results are calculated, we analyze them both across shore in the landward-seaward direction and alongshore, the approximate north-south direction along the coastline. These directions are shown on the graph. Now, let's go over the comparisons used in this study. We had 32 surveys to choose from, but the spatial coverage of these surveys varies. When selecting which survey to analyze, it was crucial to focus on those that cover the entire county and represent significant time periods. The team decided to focus on 4 key comparisons. The first is from June 1988 to August through October 2024. This comparison looks at the beach's performance and evolution over approximately 35 years. We didn't include the surveys before June 1988 because their coverage was limited to shallower depths or didn't span the entire length of the county. Next, we have the comparison from August 2003 to August through October 2024. This represents a 20-year period and is particularly important because the August 2003 survey was taken before the 2004 hurricanes, the first major storms to hit the county in decades. The third comparison is from June 2016 to August through October 2024. This one captures an 8-year period, focusing on the beach's response before and after Hurricane Matthew in 2016, as well as several other significant storms. Finally, we have the comparison from November 2022 to August through October 2024. This represents the most recent 2 years and shows how the beach has recovered after Hurricanes Ian and Nicole in 2022, but before the impacts of Hurricane Milton. At the time of this study, data from Hurricane Milton wasn't available for analysis. However, it has been examined since the start of the study and is documented in a separate report. Now that we've selected our surveys for comparison, we need to decide how to analyze the data. There are several ways we can assess the changes. One way is to look at the changes in beach width from one survey to the next. For example, from 1988 to 2003, we see a significant increase in beach width, the area of the beach located in between the toe of the dune and mean high water. But from 2003 to 2016, there's a noticeable decrease in beach width. Then, from 2016 to 2022, we see a dramatic drop in beach width, mainly due to the impact of several major storms. In the most recent period, from 2022 to 2024, we see the beach width start to increase again. Another important approach is to compare each survey to the 2024 survey to track long-term changes in the beach. When looking at trends along the shoreline, something interesting stands out. For example, in the comparison between 1988 and 2024, we see a net neutral change in beach width across the county. However, if you break it down into local level, the northern 3 communities actually saw a decrease in beach width, while communities south of Daytona Beach saw an increase in beach width. So while countywide it looks like only small changes have occurred, there's actually a lot more happening when you look closer. It's also worth noting that beach width is influenced by both the position of the seaward berm and the dune toe. Sometimes an increase in berm width may be caused by the retreat of the dune toe, so we need to carefully consider these factors when analyzing the data. Let's continue to take a look at the cumulative trends at a long-term scale. Here, we have broken the trends down to also include a quick visual reference with plus signs indicating positive actions and minus signs indicating negative movement. Generally, on a countywide scale, minimal changes in beach width occurred during the 1988 to 2024 comparison period, while significant decreases in beach width occurred during the 2003 to 2024 and 2016 to 2024 comparison period. This indicates that since 2016, the decrease in beach width has accelerated throughout the county. Additionally, the beach width has not recovered to its 2003 conditions. Recently, the beach width increased 25 feet following Hurricanes Ian and Nicole in 2022 through 2024 due to some post-storm recovery of the beach. However, this is prior to the passing of Hurricane Milton. Another separate study indicates that following Hurricane Milton, the beach is in a similar state to after the 2022 hurricane season, and much of the post-storm recovery has eroded again. Let's now look at the volume changes above the negative 15-foot NAVD 88 contour, which is the most dynamic part of the beach. The largest changes in both shoreline position and beach volume happen directly north and south of the inlet. The area just south of the inlet, in particular, shows continuous sand accumulation or accretion across all periods. This is expected because the inlet and its ebb shoal are complex and constantly changing features. That's why the county has an inlet management plan, which helps manage this important resource and balance sand placement around its banks. Looking at the countywide data since 1988, there's been a net volume loss of about 35 cubic yards per foot, or 6.8 million cubic yards, above the negative 15-foot NAVD 88 contour. From 2003 to 2024, the volume loss increased to 45 cubic yards per foot, or 8.7 million cubic yards. Then, from 2016 to 2024, the loss grew to 65 cubic yards per foot, or 12.7 million cubic yards. This shows that erosion has been accelerating since 2016, largely due to extreme weather events and hurricanes like Matthew, Irma, Ian, and Nicole. During the 1988, 2003, and 2016 comparison periods, we saw significant erosion between the mean high water line and the negative 15-foot NAVD 88 contour. This is likely due to subaerial erosion from the dry beach, and the movement of sand from the near shore to offshore during major storms. However, between the 2022 and 2024 surveys, the county experienced a small net gain of 10 cubic yards per foot, or about 2 million cubic yards. This suggests some recovery after the 2022 hurricane season. But even with this recovery, it's not enough to offset the decades of erosion, and above the negative 15-foot NAVD 88 contour, the beach is still in a highly eroded state. Additionally, in this next slide, we've pulled in the post-Milton results, which show that on average, what sand was recovered following Hurricanes Ian and Nicole has eroded again following Hurricane Milton. In addition to the beach width and volume results shown on the previous two slides, our study team investigated all the beach performance metrics discussed earlier. We simplified their trends on both a countywide and community scale. We invite you to chat about them following this presentation at the specified breakout station. At the station focusing on these beach trends, there are plots depicting the beach metrics over time at each monument in the study area. Maybe you'll be able to connect your observations at your local beach to the data within these figures.
We had over 12,000 people respond to our online beach user survey. Thank you for sharing this with your friends, your neighbors, and your community. Ultimately, the community's engagement is critical on this project being a success because in addition to finding solutions that work for our coastline, each solution has to work for our differing communities across our shores. Volusia County conducted a beach user survey from December 11th to January 12th to assess how residents and visitors use the county's beaches and their perceptions of the beach's quality. In total, over 12,000 beach users responded to the survey with approximately 1,000 businesses and 300 Volusia County visitors. The vast majority of those who provided feedback were full-time Volusia County residents, of which approximately 30% of those surveyed lived within the walking distance of the beach, and nearly 60% living within a 30-minute drive. The survey results revealed some interesting trends. Over half of the respondents visit the beach every week, and another 25% visiting monthly. More than 75% of the people go to the beach alone or with just one other person. When it comes to access, most people get to the beach using vehicular ramps followed by walkovers. As for the most popular beach areas, Daytona Beach Shores, and New Smyrna Beach were the top choices. Not surprisingly, the most popular beach activities are physical recreation, followed by relaxation, and then swimming. When asked about the quality of the beaches in Volusia County compared to before Hurricanes Ian and Nicole, 46% of respondents said the beaches are in worse condition, while 39% felt that they were about the same. The biggest concerns for the future of Volusia County beaches are increased erosion and loss of sand, followed by reduced habitat for sea turtles and marine life. Notably, 90% of the respondents are worried that future weather events will further damage the beaches, and 91% agree that the quality of the beaches plays a major role in tourism and the local economy. Overall, it's clear that the majority of respondents care deeply about our beaches and their impact on our community.
Next, we are moving into the risk assessment and some of the preliminary results. The risk assessment looks at the beach's shoreline position and how it impacts nearby infrastructure, analyzing it on a parcel-by-parcel basis to determine the overall risk for the community. The team used three main parameters for this assessment. First, shoreline encroachment, which measures the horizontal distance between the mean high water line and upland infrastructure. Second, the elevation buffer, which is the vertical distance between the ocean and the infrastructure. And third, the erosion rate, which considers the historical coastal trends specific to each community based on the beach monitoring reports we discussed earlier. Additionally, the team will also consider other factors, such as whether a parcel has coastal armoring or what important resources are located near the beach. All of these parameters will be combined and weighted to create a risk index for each community. Looking at some early data, we found that, on average, the mean high water position is about 200 feet seaward of upland infrastructure. This distance can vary, ranging from as little as 40 feet to as much as 1,000 feet. We also used the post-Hurricane Milton survey data to determine the general elevation of the upland infrastructure, which helps us understand the vulnerability of each community. On average, the elevation of upland infrastructure is about 16 feet NABD88, with a range from 4 feet NABD88 to 30 feet NABD88. Our team is currently analyzing the historic erosion rates by looking at the shoreline position over time. We'll combine all these factors into a single risk index. In upcoming workshops this spring, we'll dive deeper into the results of this assessment. We have all of this great data. What is next? The team will evaluate 10 different beach management options to see how practical they are for each community in the county. Some of the options we'll consider include things like no action, beach nourishment, breakwaters, seawalls, and nearshore artificial reefs, among others. We'll create a matrix to compare these solutions and how they might work for each community's coastline. Based on the existing conditions and the vulnerability of each area, Taylor Engineering will offer recommendations on which solutions should be prioritized, taking into account historic beach trends and the results of our risk analysis. We'll share the recommended solutions for each community at the next round of public workshops, where we'll gather your feedback.
Following the next round of public workshops, our four major study components on the left will be combined and diluted into a feasibility assessment. The final feasibility report will identify the most vulnerable communities and which shoreline management strategies are most applicable to each community based on the physical characteristics of that beach and that community's feedback. The county will then work with our partners at a community level, municipal level, and within the state to implement the recommended management solutions, ensuring a resilient coastline for generations to come. To summarize the next steps and timeline for this feasibility assessment, we're currently in winter of 2025, and this is our first round of public outreach meetings. Soon, Taylor Engineering will submit the preliminary risk results to the county, along with a draft report on the economic impact of Volusia County's beaches. Next, we'll hold a second round of public meetings to present the draft feasibility assessment, which will include the community risk results and recommended beach management strategies specific to each community. This will be another opportunity to gather additional feedback from the community on what the community wants their beach to look like. Finally, in fall of 2025, we'll provide the County Council with a draft report that includes the recommended beach management strategies for each community, incorporating all the public feedback we've received. For those of you here with us, we welcome you to visit our breakout stations we have set up throughout the venue. These stations are related to our ongoing beach and storm recovery projects, review of our historic beach trends, discussion on potential shoreline management options, and then feedback and next steps. We also have a table set up for our various county beach services. We have a representative from Beach Safety, Environmental Management, and Park Volusia. Thank you for joining us this evening or watching online. We encourage you to go and talk to the breakout stations and ask questions. We encourage you, if you're watching online, to look at more information on the subsequent links. We need our community's engagement. If you see a beach survey, please forward it to your friends, your neighbors, and your community. Each community in Volusia County needs to have a voice on what they want their beaches to look like. If you're in person, please do not forget to take a handout, and we look forward to sharing more results with you soon. Thank you.